Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a portrait, the portrait of Chinnajir Swamiji, of one of the spiritual leaders of India. This portrait is being drawn using Rayleigh's method. So um, the basic structure, the skeleton of cranium, the face, and the features are built with the help of Rayleigh's method, and I developed the complete details of the portrait according to my experience and analytical abilities of looking at the portraits and looking at the reference pictures. So uh, I would try to give you my insight into the way process that I did follow for this particular portrait. So let us get into the details, and as and I start explanation, please throw some please focus more on the information that I'm trying to give you, or throw some insight into the process that I followed for this portrait. Okay, let's go ahead and enjoy. So you must be actually looking at these the various steps that I have drawn the whole portrait. The outline of the portrait has been drawn. uh, it is being now shown on the screen, and I have done a time lapse so that you quickly easily able to grasp whatever I have been drawing, because the outline itself will take around 10 to 15 minutes easily. So in order to avoid the whole time of shooting it, I just quickly have done a time lapse of below 2 minutes, and I've been giving you a little overview about it. So we finished the outline, and I started right from the hair onwards. Why hair? The outlines have already been given, so you can see the traits of that particular face of the person. It's resembling the person. Now, the next point that we would wanted to do is, I keep saying it to all my students: start any of your work from the darkest tones. Why? Because when you are actually drawing the darkest tones with the lightest pencil, for example, if you're drawing the darkest tone with HB, it is very easy for you to lay down darker tones or darkest tones with the help of 4B, 6B, 8B later. But if you are drawing the darkest tones with the darkest pencil like 8B, and if you feel later that it should be toned down to 4B or 5B, it will be difficult for you to tone it down. And there is a lot of time and effort involved, which is actually a challenging task to manage your time in drawing portraits. And also, there will be uh, uh, a disturbance to your confidence levels. So I would say, draw always from darker areas to lighter areas with lighter pencil. Why? Next point is, if you are trying to dark if you want to if you are actually starting to draw the whiter portions with a pencil, you will not know how much white it should have been. Why? Because the whitest white is only white paper, but the blackest black could be 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7B, 8B, 9B, 10B, 11B, 12B, double E, triple E, carbon, charcoal. So many darks are there. In order to avoid the confusion with the darks, we should always start with the lightest tone of the dark on the darkest area. Then you can add little more darker tone to get the darkest tone, and accordingly juxtaposing the dark with the white, you will then be able to understand how much white should be left, whether it is toned down white with the help of 6H or 4H or 2H or H, or leave the white paper as is. So these are all the things that needs to be considered even before putting down your pencil onto the whitest white. That is the reason it's always safe to put down your pencil on the darkest areas. Hope you got my point. Otherwise, you can go back to my statements again, properly hear it carefully, and then try whatever that has been explained here. Hope this makes sense to you. Then, um, Here, if you closely observe, I am just using only HB pencil. You might be wondering why is he using only HB pencil. The first and foremost point is, I believe if you are using the least materials and creating a good work output on a simple normal paper defines how professional you are, how much command you have over pencil, or for that matter any medium. That is the reason I choose only HB pencil to draw on these notes. And let me tell you, this is not a proper drawing sheets which are called archival sheets. These are not cancel sheets or any imported sheets like Fabriano, Strathmore, nothing. It is just a normal Indian. I don't say normal. It is normal sketchbook, but it is made in India. And this sketchbook paper is a very good paper. It takes the amount of graphite that you want it to give it to you, and moreover, it has a very light grain which actually helps you to create good number of textures. Forget about the most smooth materials, or you call smoothest materials, but it would take any kind of, it would basically take any amount of graphite to give you the um, different kinds of textures that you wanted to actually draw. So I feel this is one of the very good papers that we can buy in India. So that is the reason I've chosen this paper, and I have drawn most of my sketchbooks, and this portrait is part of my sketchbook series, and it's an amazing sketchbook. I've been advising, and I would advise you to everybody who's actually in India. It is available only in India, so you can buy this sketchbook, and it is Anupam sketchbooks. These sketchbooks are from Anupam brand, and it doesn't cost more than 250 bucks here in India. And this is very good paper. You can try it out. It works with pencil, graphite pencil, carbon, and charcoal, uh, and color pencils like graphitins and tinted charcoals as well. And color pencils also it works, but it might not take number of layers that you wanted to give, but minimum the number of layers that you can work with and get the output, it pretty much works. Okay. Now, here when I am trying to draw, since this particular person here is actually, with all due respect to the person, he's a guruji, he's a spiritual guruji. But what we do is, I'm considering this particular portrait, I'm not considering him as a as a person right now. I'm considering him as a subject here right now. So that is the reason. So it's with all due respect towards him, I'm considering this particular portrait as a photograph, and I'm saying it. Okay. So when you are actually looking at the hair is very haphazard. It is hair, it's like hair, and you do not have particular pattern, because the hair is tightly coded, and they are very short in hair. So you will have to use a kind of stroking which will actually give you the naturalistic property of the tightly coded hair. That is the reason I have not used any longer uh, uh, strokes to get the longer hair, because these are all short hairs. If you closely observe, the technique that I have used for mustache here is the technique that I have used all through his hair on the head as well. That means they are the hair on the head, and the mustache hair are almost equal in the same. I mean, I don't say equal in length, but it has the same way of growth, or the amount of growth that you see on the hair is the same. That is the reason I've used the same technique. Okay. So closely observe, this is very haphazard way of doing it, but it is the quick way of doing of basically drawing the such kind of tightly coded short hair. And when it comes to drawing the eyebrows, it is also the same way. He has a very thick eyebrows, and here and there are little white strokes due to the age. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to draw the same kind of haphazard way of showing the haphazard growth of the eyebrows. He has a very thick eyebrows which are predominantly visible on his face, with a bulged eyes, very big eyes, and those are very powerful eyes if you closely observe. So the line that I'm right now drawing is the line crease which is in between the eyelashes and eyebrows. So that makes a clear distinction between uh, the eyebrow and eyelashes. So for most of the Indians and most of the European country or Western countries, people, it is clearly visible. But when it comes to Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, it is barely visible. So you need to understand the race, and you need to get the traits correctly done. That's more important. You need to understand the race properly. The human race at different geographic locations have different properties and features that needs to be properly understood and then proceed accordingly. Um, yeah, coming to the the convex portion of the sclera, which is called the white ball of the eye. It is very subtly drawn. Why? Because it has to show the convex property, which is a bumpiness. The eyeball has a bumpy effect. It's like a speed breaker. We call it as the bumpy effect. So that in order to show that bumpy effect, both the corners the corner where the tear duct is there, the place where I am drawing right now is a tear duct. So you might have understood that the drawing has done at some point of time, and I'm recording my voice at some point of time. So yeah, so that particular area, tear duct, and the area which is opposite to the tear duct, both the areas are the corners of the uh, eye socket. Okay, that means eyeball is embedded in the eye socket. So the ball is actually very bigger than what it is visible. So you need to understand that since it is embedded from inside, the ball is not put from outside, it is embedded from inside. That is the reason you will be able to see only portion of the eyeball. That means the whole eyeball is a perfect sphere. In order to showcase that or make the viewer understand that it is spherical in structure, you should draw the corners with a little shadow. And as and when it comes to the pupil and iris part, the sclera, the white portion of the ball, needs to be lit, needs to be shown as lit, so that it covers the property of a convex shaped ball. Yeah. So now when it comes to the skin texture, the most important thing that you need to understand is generally circlism plays a crucial role here. But here in such kind of portraits, one needs to understand, you need to follow if there are two different things. One is circulism. Circulism is to draw the smoothest textures, like the most polished skins of heroines and actors and actresses. But when it comes to the rough textured uh, skins, like this age old skins, you need to focus more on the flow of the skin tissues. Focus more on the flow of the skin tissues, which will actually help you to draw skin rightly, in a right way. At the same time, add more life to the skin. If all your efforts uh, are for about hours together, you have been working on it, but if it doesn't give you the right output, then there is no point of spending so much of time. So better understand things properly. For any skin, for any kind of skin, you should basically focus on how the flow of the skin is there at that particular portion. In order to understand this particular concept, one needs to know the planes of the face. In order to understand the planes of the face, even before you Google, you go through YouTube tutorials of various artists, I would simply tell you one simple example. Cover your face, only face, not the whole head. Cover your face with this very thin plastic and press the plastic to your face as much as you can. You press it and slowly take it off. Or you can go to a mirror and see in front of the stand in front of the mirror and see your face. The plastic, the thin plastic which you are covering with onto your face, they gets uh, stretched according to the planes of the faces. That means if you are actually pulling your plastic cover towards your face with a little more strength, slowly you will see all the folds on the plastic which is actually pressing your face. That means however the folds plastic has on your face, the skin tissues run accordingly. It is as simple as that. I would not say take it as 100% right, but for most of the areas it's like that, because it might not reach the dents which are around the nose rings. You might not know how the tissue runs there. But if you actually observe the cheekbones, which are called zygomatic bones, the bones actually protrude and it will help the lower part of the cheeks to flow down. That means the skin flows from the upper cheek to the lower cheek, from the lower portion of the eye to the jawline. It flows like a curve. So these things are supposed to be understood properly and then work accordingly with lots of patience to instill life into your work so that all your effort is paid off. So, as I've been explaining, if you closely observe, the cheek portion of the portrait shows that the skin is stooping down from the cheekbone towards the jawline. Okay. Later, I slowly started working on polishing the mustache part. If you closely observe, I have not been using anything, and I have not even used eraser for corrections. I've used eraser for highlighting, and I have not used any blending stump, any blending tool, brush, soft applicator, sponge, duster, earbud, Q-tip, nothing. It is simply one simple HP pencil that I am trying to lay down layers and layers to get the thing, to get the things perfectly in shape with right tints and tones and textures. How this can be done? This is purely based out of practice. So when you are actually working on several things, practicing with the same kind of um, you know uh, materials, and thoroughly practicing like tapas, you will be able to see the results. Results are bound to come, are yield. So it is all about uh, you know not shunning practice. So the best guru in the world, be it in any form of art or in any form of field, the best guru can give you the best knowledge is to advise you how to practice it, how to practice that particular form of art or in that particular field. So generally people say practice, 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 but in my 14-15 years of experience, I can strongly say that daily practice is okay, but more than that, and the more critical information that you need to know is practicing it in a right way. So more than practicing daily, practicing in a right way, it frequently is oftenly is advisable, rather practicing in a wrong way or um, not so fruitful way every day doesn't give you any results. It will not yield you any results. So you have to be very careful to understand the approach of drawing things rightly. That is the reason a mentor, a guide, a teacher, a guru is required. Otherwise there are so many YouTube channels, there are so many blogs, there are so many websites, so many artists are teaching you so many things. So but why a personalized guru or personalized mentor is required is just to understand what are the drawbacks of particularly that student. If it is you, then you, what is the drawback of your ability, what is that you are lacking in. It also depends upon your psyche. I mean, your sometimes people cannot draw one portrait for a longer duration. If you ask me, I draw one portrait for more than 300 to 500 hours, because I thoroughly enjoy the process. I don't feel that I'm drawing that person for from last 3 4 months. So so when it comes to that particular kind of site, for example, one student, if I asked him to draw pineapple, he says that he doesn't like pineapple. But the simple thing that I would say him is, I am not asking you to eat. If you don't like it, very well, I respect your taste, but I am not asking you to eat. I am asking you to draw. So you have to focus more on drawing what is being given to you. So feel good about the process of drawing. Always think that it is you who is drawing that. You should be given importance, not the subject that is being given importance. Like when you are actually posing for a photograph, you basically ask your photographer or your, if you, any of your family member is clicking the picture, you pretty well focus more on your um, hair or your specs, whether they are being lit with the because of the opposite light, or whether your dressing is nice and everything. So you take care of yourself. In the same way, when you're drawing, this drawing is not about the subject. It is part and parcel of you, your thought process, your flavor, your knowledge about, your command about the subject, your love about the subject, your passion about the subject. So if this subject is not coming out really well, that means it is, the value of that particular artist is diluted. Okay, so remember, any artwork, whether it is a small spear, apple, pineapple, whatever it is, whether you like the picture or not, it is immaterial to the artist. Because it is part and parcel of you, it is piece of you. You should basically focus more on giving justice to that particular subject. Along with the beauty of the subject, you should actually add your own flavors, your own interest, your own love and passion. So basically the output from your hand is are supposed to be the replica of your passion. How much amount of passion you got for your work, this the work that is delivered by you should show. Even if you are present in the gallery in front of your work or not, it should show, it should speak to the viewer and draw the viewer from one of the corners of the gallery to your work, to your canvas or to your frame, and it should be able to converse with the viewer. That is the ability, that is the kind of ability our artworks, a qualitative artwork has. Okay. So a lot of people are, my students keep asking me, what is the best artworks, or what do you think the best artwork? There are two things that I keep saying it to my children. One is, the best artist is not someone who uses hi-fi paraphernalia like wonderful pencils, all the blending tools, pan pastel, soft applicators, world's best pencils. No, a piece of charcoal, if is given to him, and if he can draw anything on a just a whitewashed wall, okay, and if that artwork is so captivating that right from a normal layman, a daily laborer who's very illiterate, to the most sophisticated employee or a scientist or a CEO or a software professional, whoever it is, if that particular work draws these different people from different fields to its own self, and if it is able to impress that particular person, then it is a right. Then that particular artist is a wonderful artist. Why? Because art doesn't need hyphen material, and lot of people think or have this question in their mind, why this particular artwork has gone for 4.1 millions or 5 millions, or like 5 crores, 2 crores, 10 crores. It is simple. The thought is being sold. The precious thought of the artist is being sold, not the amount of canvas, the big canvas that he has drawn, not the quality of art, sorry, paints that have been used, not the number of colors that have been used. So thought process of the artist is being sold. That is the reason each and every artwork does not qualify with the number of hours that particular artist spent on it. Why? Because if I am drawing this portrait in half an hour, and somebody is taking 4 5 days, 1 week, or somebody might not even able to draw, what does that mean? I have worked so many number of hours in my past 5 10 years, 15 years, to draw it in 15 20 minutes or half an hour. So if you say that you have drawn only for 30 minutes, why are you charging 30,000? It is wrong. You cannot calculate an artist's pain, an artist's suffering, because there goes a lot of turbulence in the artist's mind, even putting down a single stroke on the paper with the pencil. Why? If you correctly understand the creases below the eye, if there is a little difference between the left and eye, it completely changes the look of G.R. Swamiji. So there is a lot of equation that runs in my mind to put it at the right place, because white paper is a space. Please understand this. Both artists and sellers need to understand this. Why? Because artists say that chalo theek hai, is my friend, I'll give it away for free. No, I will never encourage anybody to give it away for free, any of their works. Even if they are very close friends, I would say just charge them not money, but for the pencils, for the color materials, for the papers. Ask them to give you the papers or art materials as a gift to you. It is with all the due respect towards your relation between him and you, and the amount of effort that you have put for your own work. Your friend, close friend who is very close to you, is actually paying you back for the amount of effort you have put. So with this thought and idea in your mind, it brings a very healthy ambience and relationship in the field of art. That is the reason, people, that will be the good reason people will not ask your artwork for free. Respect the relation, and at the same time say that it took so much of time for you to get to this level. So at least you can provide some art material. It means that he is directly or indirectly supporting you to draw many more works like this. Okay, so this way you can basically uh, create a healthy relationship and carry on with the healthy atmosphere of uh, um, the art market. Okay, sounds good. So there are so many things that I got a chance to talk to you with the help of this tutorial. The rest of the things, anyway, I mean, a lot of people will keep on telling you how to do this. As I told you, the one that I've been drawing right now is all about showcasing the skin texture, so more of understanding the skin texture. If you closely observe each and every technique that is actually used, whether it is circlism or flow of the skin, actually covers both bumps and dents, that is creases on the skin. So if you are able to handle the bumps and creases of that particular skin which you are drawing the portrait of, then it means you are instilling life into that portrait correctly. It's as simple as that. Hope it makes sense to you. Think over it, ponder over it. If you closely observe drawing nostrils, here um, the nostrils of this person in the portrait is not visible, but understand the nostrils are like caves. In the starting portions of the nostrils which are around the mustache area, these will be light dark. It's not the purest dark form, but as and when you are drawing the nostrils, if you get into the nostrils, they become more dark. That means nostrils are not the direct hollow areas like ditches. They are the areas which are actually exposed to the light in the initial uh, are the starting portions of the nostrils, and as and when you go into them, they become dark. So you have to draw them accordingly. So the philtrum, the area around the philtrum, the upper portion of the philtrum are exposed to both the in both the nostrils. Upper area of the philtrum are exposed to light. So you need to draw them in a lighter tone. And as and when you get into the nostrils, you have to increase the darkness. That will show you the in depth, the depth of that particular nostril. Here, anyway, we are not going to do that because his nostrils are barely visible, because he has a very beautiful sharp nose. And his features are very eye catching, and a lot of people go and seek his blessings. And those eyes, any spiritual guru's eyes, all his blessings are in his eyes. So people strive to fall in his eyes. They would want to have a look of the guruji. So people who are following Chinaji or Swamiji, they go and meet him to talk to him for few seconds. It's not only about Chinaji or Swamiji, any for that matter, any spiritual guru. We go and seek his blessings, and we make sure that he sees us. That brings a lot of change in our lives, in our buddhi. That's the reason. closely observing, I'm drawing the cheeks and other areas have drawn like curves which are stooping down from cheek to the jawline. But here, when I'm drawing the forehead, I'm drawing in almost straight lines. I mean, parallel to the eye line. Why? Because if you see anybody frowning, their creases are in the horizontal way. Of course, they are in a wavy format, but they are in horizontal way. So you are not supposed to use any other way of blending the skin. You are supposed to use them only in parallel way, because that's how the skin develops there. The creases develops there. So this is something which needs to be made a note of. And uh, blend all the edges of your pencil stroke. Why? Because pencil stroke itself creates a scar on the paper. In order to blend it naturally, you have to blend with a lighter tone. If you're drawing a darker line, blend it with a lighter tone with the same pencil with a very very little pressure. Blend it two to three times. Draw it on top of it, so that you get a light tone. That means your scar is blended, not bent, sorry, blended. When your scar is blended, it looks natural. That means nothing is very sharp in the nature, it blends itself into the nature. So that blending plays a very important role. So the blending is required in our painting or sketching or whatever it is. Why? Because at the end of the day, there is no sharp edge. There is no sharp edge that is visible. Even the sharpest knife blends in the nature, in the ambience, and it doesn't look very sharp in the paintings. If you see and if you try it out on your finger, it actually hurts you. But when you are drawing, it can't be very sharp. Either the sharp edges which are blending into the nature, or the light which is blending the steel into the nature, which helps in blending the steel into the nature. All that actually plays a crucial role, helping it to blend, look it more natural in the paintings or in the drawings. Hope it makes sense to you. So finally we are done, almost we are done with the portrait.